What up, YouTube? Ed, WeskerGriff, coming back with a video response for my good friend on here, Scott, Sconnie Tradition. He's doing a 200 subscriber giveaway. I highly suggest that you go check it out. I'm going to leave the link down below towards his video. In order to get into the giveaway, you got to make a video response and answer 5 questions. All the questions are pop culture related for the most part. Scott wants to know more about us. So let's begin. The first question is about music. It is, what is our favorite song / band or artist of all time? And this is a pretty easy question for me. I definitely have a band that sticks out that I absolutely love above the rest. And that would be the Smiths. Huge fan of the Smiths. I've discovered them in high school in my junior year. And from the moment I heard Hand in Glove, which was the first Smiths song I ever heard before, I was just hooked. I grew up listening to punk and punk rock music, so some of my favorite bands were the Ramones, the Clash, Against Me, the Bouncing Souls, Rancid. So really loved those bands, but when I heard the Smiths, it just grabbed me like no other music has grabbed me before. Between the musical arrangements, the sound of the music, and the lyrics, just really pulled me in. And never before did I hear a song and then just stop everything what I'm doing, and just sit down, put headphones on, and just listen to the music. Just sit there and listen. That's what the Smiths did for me, just totally captivated me. And the next part to the question would be, what is my favorite artist? That would be Morrissey. The Smiths broke up in 1987, and they're never going to reform. There's too much drama there. But Morrissey has a very long and storied solo career. He's the lead singer of the Smiths. He's released various records. I think at least it has to be around 20 records by now. But really appreciate his music as well. I've seen him in person, in concert, I should say, several times. I think might be around 9 to 10 times I've seen him, but really can't really describe going to a Morrissey show. As someone who's been to hundreds of concerts over the course of their life, Morrissey shows just seem to stand out above the rest. It seems to transcend what a concert is. It's more of an experience, and if you're really into the Smiths and Morrissey's music, you have to go see Morrissey live because it's truly an experience. But my favorite song of all time would be The Boy with the Thorn in His Side. That's a single from the Smiths. It's either that or Big Mouth Strikes Again. Those two songs. And my favorite record of all time is The Queen is Dead, which is the Smiths' third record, released in 1986. Currently, some of my favorite groups from right now, that are active now, are probably Arcade Fire. I really appreciate them. Really like the Men Zingers. They're a Scranton, PA punk band. And the Bouncing Souls are still going, and still really enjoy their music. They're a New Jersey punk band who's been going since 1989, so they're a really awesome group of guys. So there's my response for that. Now, on to the films. Now, the films are going to be real difficult. Scott asks us what is our favorite movie or film franchise. And I'll start with film franchise first. Pretty much everyone's saying the same thing, but it stands out above the rest. If you would have asked me this question last year, Scott, I would have answered it without hesitation, Star Wars. But I had to think about it because this time last year, there's a little film that came out called The Last Jedi that I absolutely hated. I could not stand The Last Jedi, and I know it's very controversial. There's the Star Wars fandom in general is a extremely divided fandom. It's almost like politics if you think about it. But there's so many. There's never a general consensus within the Star Wars fandom, and it could be real bad sometimes. People really get in your face about certain things, but I do not like The Last Jedi. I've seen every single Star Wars film in the theater. I'm only 29 years old, but the original trilogy was actually re-released in 1997. It was a limited release for the special edition, so I was able to see the original trilogy in the theater. And Star Wars is very much a movie-going experience. Just the festivities that go around it and experiencing the films in the theater is incredible. And I really, really enjoy all the films. I like the prequels as well. I grew up with the prequels. And, you know, it's weird. There's people my age who try to deny growing up with the prequels. I don't know why they do that. There's a few people who do that. That's so strange to me. But are they good films? No, not really. I mean, The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones are not good, but I enjoy them. That doesn't mean I don't like them. I love Revenge of the Sith. I definitely feel that that is the best Star Wars film that's been released since 1983. But the sequel trilogy that's out right now, The Force Awakens, I really like that. I liked Rogue One, and I did enjoy Solo, but I could not stand The Last Jedi. Sitting in the theater watching that, it was just one gut punch after another, and I've never been to a movie in the theater where I just sat there stunned what I saw. Stunned and disappointed. But Star Wars is it's still, I mean, the only other thing that might come close is, I guess, Lord of the Rings. But Star Wars is my favorite film franchise. My favorite film of all time, very difficult. But right now, this film stands out to me. It would be Interstellar, a film directed by Christopher Nolan. I don't know what it is about this film. I saw this in the theater as well, in IMAX, and I really pity anyone that's never seen this film in IMAX in the theater, because, boy oh boy, between hearing the music, which the soundtrack on Interstellar should have won the Academy Award. It lost that year, but that was a crime. Hans Zimmer did an incredible score for this film. The music alone in Interstellar really pushes it over, but such a great film. Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Michael Caine. Just a really, really great film. So I think Interstellar is probably my favorite film. But there are some honorable mentions. Probably my favorite war film. I'm surprised nobody mentioned this one. Saving Private Ryan. Steven Spielberg film. Absolutely incredible. I watched that every single Memorial Day weekend. Always watch Saving Private Ryan every year. Other film that I absolutely love is Gladiator. Ridley Scott, Russell Crowe. Very highly quotable and fantastic film. Won Best Picture. Probably my favorite comic book film of all time is The Dark Knight. And I really love The Dark Knight because it delivered on the hype. And it's very hard for a film to deliver on the hype. And I think people tend to forget the pedestal that this film was on, especially with Heath Ledger's passing, all the questions that were surrounding his casting. And a lot of people did question his casting when he got the part of the Joker. A lot of people thought he would fail miserably in that role. And not only did he transcend the role, but he did an incredible job with it. And when I saw this in the theaters, I tell you, man, it delivered on the hype 1,000-fold. An absolute perfect film. Definitely the best comic book film of all time. My favorite Tarantino film, gotta put that in a category by itself. Reservoir Dogs. Love this film. This probably used to be my favorite film a couple years ago, but it fell off the list a little bit, went downwards a little bit. Now it's my favorite Tarantino film. But just really appreciate the DIY type of filmmaking that Quentin used on this. You could really tell it was a low-budget film. It's a film about a bank robbery, and you never see the bank robbery. Tim Roth and Harvey Keitel are really, really great in this film, too. But I feel like Reservoir Dogs always gets overlooked because Pulp Fiction came afterwards, and Pulp Fiction's, everyone loves that movie. And rightfully so. It's a great film. This film is a film that stands out to me. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. If you've never seen this movie, check it out. It's incredible. Probably one of the most evil movie characters of all time. Nurse Ratched. Evil bitch that she is. But great, great film. Absolutely incredible film. And as you can see in the corner there, won Best Picture, I think, when it came out. I think it came out like 1978 or 79, sometime around there. And finally, probably my favorite sci-fi film of all time would have to be Aliens. James Cameron, the sequel to Alien, was released in 1986. Aliens is the type of film that I can watch any single time, and I never get tired of it. Never ever get tired of watching that movie. Love it. Very quotable. Sigourney Weaver is incredible in that film, and it's just a very iconic film. And animation-wise, well, Disney-wise, we'll do my favorite Disney film would be The Great Mouse Detective. I don't have the DVD for that. I can't find it. But that was released in 1986 as well. That's probably the most underappreciated Disney movie of all time, only because it saved Disney Animation Studios. So if you don't have The Great Mouse Detective, you don't get Aladdin, you don't get The Lion King, you don't get Beauty and the Beast, because prior to 1986, The Black Cauldron, which was a very critically acclaimed film, it bombed. It did not make no money at the box office. And Disney was on its last legs. It almost went under. And The Great Mouse Detective was released, made a lot of money. It sustained the studio, and it continued producing the films that we see today. But absolutely love The Great Mouse Detective. Probably my favorite Disney film of all time. And my favorite animated movie would be this, Akira. If you've never seen Akira, I highly suggest you check it out. It's all cell animation. The picture itself is absolutely stunning. You don't see films animated like this anymore. And Hollywood is trying so desperately to sink their teeth into the anime market, because that's the next probably big thing to make money on after comic book films. After that well is being dried up. But Akira has been trying to be adapted into a Hollywood picture for a really long time. But they want to westernize it a little bit and move Neo Tokyo to Neo Manhattan. And I'm telling you right now, if they do that, it's going to be a disaster. No one will see it. The fan base won't support it. And it'll be a bad investment on Hollywood's part. But check out the original Akira. Absolutely phenomenal film. And next, favorite TV show or TV series? Well, this is easy. You guys know what the answer is already. Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is definitely my favorite television show. I mean, was there any ever question? Now, Game of Thrones, for anyone that hasn't watched it, I highly suggest you do watch it. It's a crazy experience. I did get Nate, Tops 85401, to get into Game of Thrones, and he loves it. Him and his wife really enjoy it. But is Game of Thrones a perfect show? No, it's not a perfect show. It's an amazing show. It's definitely one of the best shows in the history of television. But it's not a perfect show. It does have some flaws. I'm not a complete homer or fanboy on the show. It does have its flaws. Mostly how the Dorne story arc was handled, and how Stannis' character was handled. But is there such thing as a perfect TV show? No. Even The Wire has a little bit of its flaws, but there's so many great television shows out there. Game of Thrones, you can't go wrong with it. Now, I can mention some other shows that I really like, but I'm going to go in a little different direction. I'm going to go in an anime direction, because I am very much into anime. And this show is definitely one of my favorite, Cowboy Bebop. If you guys, this is the #1 show I would recommend to people who want to experience an anime show. It has a lot of Western influences in it. The story is very episodic. So I think a lot of people will really enjoy it. Cowboy Bebop is a fantastic show. It's a standalone. It's one season and one season only, so you don't have to worry about, you know, 100 episode arc. No, it's only 26 episodes, and it's incredible. Really, really great show. And as you can see, 26 episodes. It's really, really good, and highly enjoy it. So Cowboy Bebop. And next, my favorite Gundam show. I watch this every single December around Christmas time. Would be Gundam 0080, War in the Pocket. This is a great show. I'm a huge Gundam fan. And I used to really be into anime a lot. I'm not really into anime as much anymore. I've kind of had a falling out with it. Just the shows nowadays are not too relatable. The only new anime shows that I watch are Gundam related, but 0080 is easily one of my favorite shows. It's only 6 episodes, so it's a mini series. And if you get the chance to watch this, you can still, it's been re-released on DVD. I think it's like $25 on Amazon. Pick it up. It's really, really good. The story's fantastic. The animation is real solid. And it has an 80s feel to it. But it's a powerful story. It's a good story. So Gundam 0080. And the last show that I'll mention is a show that is coming to Netflix. Is Neon Genesis Evangelion. Now, this show is not for the faint of heart. It's an extremely bleak show, and it's often considered, you know, one of the best animes of all time. I remember when it came out. It came out in 1995, and it got released over here in the early 2000s. I remember all the hype this show got, and back in the day, if you wanted to buy these DVDs, you would only get 5 episodes. So you would only get 5 episodes. They were like $25 a DVD, and they would get released every month. So there was no Netflix back then. But Evangelion is coming to Netflix, so a whole new generation of people will be able to experience it. And it draws heavy on Judeo-Christian references. There's a lot of Jung and Freudian, backdrops. Really delves into the human psyche, and it's very psychological, and it gets very, very dark. So it's not for everyone, but it is an extremely popular show. It's one of those shows that stands the test of time, and it's a good show. I recommend it. If you're into the anime medium, it's not a show I would recommend for people just getting into anime, but I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot about this show now that Netflix picked it up and is really promoting it heavily. So proceed with caution. That's all I got to say. And then the next question is, Scott wants to know how we found his channel. Very simple how I found Scott's channel. He's commented on one of my videos. He said, hey, nice content. Really enjoy your videos. And he started commenting on my videos. And then guess what? I subscribed back to him and started checking out his videos. That's kind of how this starts on YouTube. And I think at the time, Scott only had like 20 or 30 subs when I originally subscribed to him. But that was almost a year ago. And I've been watching Scott's channel ever since. Watching his collection grow. And it's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. So that's how I found your channel, Scott. And then the last question is, who is a YouTuber with under or around 200 subscribers that we want to shout out? And for me, that is my good buddy on here, Brian Roth. His YouTube username is BRoth9. He is a Hank Greenberg super collector. He makes very interesting content. Always highly enjoy watching his videos. Met him at National. He's a great guy and got to hang out with him. He has a really insane Hank Greenberg collection and does a lot of vintage. So if you're into vintage, you'll really appreciate it. And yeah, he just makes really great content, and he only has, I think, 190 subscribers. So go check him out. I will leave his link down below as well. So that is all I got for you guys. If you're still watching, you are incredible, you are awesome, and you have my thanks. So that's all I got for you. Have a great one. I have no idea how long this video is, but I guarantee it's long. Take care. Have a great one. Peace.